Hello and welcome to Shelley's Sacred Space and our Tarot Tidbits. We have a special treat today. We're going to do 3 cards. We are going to look at the star, the moon, and the sun. So a reminder, we are doing a comparison of 4 decks. The traditional Rider-Waite, the Radiant version, the Fifth Spirit Tarot, Somnia Tarot, and the Green Witch Tarot. So let's get started. So the star can represent guidance, hope, optimism, being grounded, being connected to emotions, opportunities, missed opportunities, blocks, tranquility. It can even apply to astrology. What's interesting within the card, one of the main things that stands out is even though we're in a night sky, there's a brightness there. And that's what the star represents, that hope and that brightness for understanding and illumination, which then leads you into the guidance through the stars, through astrology, through divine knowledge, things like that. Our water represents our emotions. And even though this card doesn't have water, the path down from the hill looks very watery and very much representing of that. Almost like the connection to those emotions have led them to higher ground. So that's where you can get into some really interesting readings when you look at the symbology in other decks. Because in this card, she's completely submerged in the water. Where these ones, it's on land and water, which indicates a balance of. This one indicates more of an understanding and acceptance and being submersed into that intuition and emotion and doing what you need to through that and not letting it pull you down or, be overcome by it. So very interesting. Now the stars have in your traditional Rider-Waite, one big one, which represents you and your light. And then we have the 7 surrounding ones. Same within this one, we do have the 7. This one has a whole bunch of stars, and this one has a whole bunch, and it's not in a specific. But in the traditional, the 7 stars represented the 7 sister stars, the Pleiades, but it also can represent the 7 chakras. So there's the energy bodies surrounding you that help you develop and grow. The bird in these 2 cards represents hope, healing, renewal, learning, communication, thoughts. In the Rider-Waite, it's actually that bird is ibis, which is connected to the Egyptian mythology god of Thoth, which was the god of learning. What I really like about that aspect is it's not just hope and healing and renewal, it's also rest and integration. So in all of these cards, nobody's doing a lot of moving. Yeah, we've got movement with the pouring of the water, and that's the natural cycle and flow of life. But we're not necessarily focusing that water. In this card, we have a little bit more focus. If you notice, she's pouring it into another jug and then also into the water. So that one, again, has that little bit of a difference in its symbolism. So for me, that one indicates more of sorting it out and putting it into the proper places that it needs to go. Where here we're talking more about integrating what you've learned along this journey, what has come up to this point, and then sitting with that, not necessarily doing anything with it, just integrating it and letting it come into your mind, body, spirit until you've got it flowing easily. I hope that makes sense. Anyways, that's the star card, and it is associated with Aquarius. Our next card is the moon. So the moon represents our subconscious, feminine aspects, our inner wisdom, our intuition, our instincts, dreams, nightmares, falsehoods, hidden truths being revealed or hidden can represent our thoughts. So in your traditional Rider Waite, we have the dog and the wolf, which represents your tamed mind and your wild mind. So kind of like your upbringing versus your natural tendencies. The crayfish coming out represents your divine purpose and rising from those emotions and that intuition into your divine purpose. And you're climbing out, which is interesting because this one has you climbing up from the ladder. So you're coming out of those emotions. You've been in the star moment where you've integrated that and now you're taking it to the next level and you're going to create the life you meant to live and follow the path that you're destined to follow. We also have the moon, which of course represents light in the dark. So things that are hidden can now be seen. It can also represent, because we don't always have a full moon, and when we don't, things can be obscured. So it can be a note to pay attention to some things. There might be something that you're not seeing as clearly as you need to. So for me, the moon really represents connecting into your intuition. The star feels more like it's within the stars, it's the knowledge outside of yourself, but the moon becomes the knowledge inside yourself. So as you integrate what you kind of learned or are paying attention to, you start to form who you are. And you start to listen to your intuition and you start to pay attention to your subconscious and you delve deeper in to the foundations of who you are through the moon card. And the other thing we have again is the yads, which we had in the tower moment. In this case, it represents the divine path. There are two towers. So those represent, of course, your opposites, your right and wrong, good and evil, knowledge and intuition, truth and falsehood, conscious and subconscious. So that's the moon card. And now we have our extra card. It's the sun. Now I incorporated the sun because The star, the moon, and the sun all felt connected to me, and it works out really well. With our integration of the esoteric knowledge in the star and our reflection and our subconscious development in the moon, we then come to the sun where we get to express ourselves. And we have come to the completion of that part of the cycle where we get to present who we are on our path, loud, proud, and just happy. So the sun card does represent happiness, success, fulfillment. It can represent positivity, promise. The sun represents life energy, hope, and hoping. And I'll explain the difference of that. When we have hope, we already have that faith in the promise of. When we're hoping, we're gaining the faith in the promise of. So we haven't got it yet. So hope and hoping are actually quite different. We have connection with our emotions again. You can see that especially in the way the flag kind of waves. So it's not a case of you're now disconnected from it. You've now incorporated it and brought that with you into your future. Now you can also see good fortune, prosperity in here, and you can also have lack of that, depending on the cards surrounding or whether you read reverse. So it's not a case of it's not great and amazing. It just might not be as great and as amazing as it could have been or as it should be. So you might have some blocks that are happening because you still have to go back and integrate. You have to go back a little bit more and look a little bit deeper. And so sometimes when we get that sun either reversed or around a lot of negative, it says there's a good change coming or there's good change happening, but it's not as great as it could be. Now, that is the one thing too with this card, it does represent change. The flag actually indicates change coming, renewal and vitality. Because it's red, it's all about the action and the energy and the passion, and so the renewal and the vitality. The wall is interesting. There's a wall here, and then in this one we have the fence. The wall can either represent you being on the outside of the wall, which means you've overcome some boundaries, or you're on the inside of the wall where you're protected and safe. So again, depending on what kind of stands out and how that wall feels to you will indicate what its meaning is, because it could be either or. The sunflowers, of course, represent growth and abundance and a connection to the elements, because it takes all the elements in order for a sunflower to grow strong and powerful. The horse represents strength and movement. And because it's in the white, in the Rider Waite, it's a white horse. So you're looking at the purity of that moving. Now, the child in the Rider Waite's sun card represents innocence and the beginning of. So again, you've done all that work in the star and the moon to get to the sun where you now go, ah, here I am. So in the fifth spirit tarot, we have more of an indication of being in the present moment. So there is the abundance because they have time to be in the park and relax and enjoy the day. The sun is shining. The kite is representing the flag or the red flag. The innocence is the puppy. The extra meaning in that is definitely taking those moments to appreciate where you are at that time, right? Being present in that moment. And then in this card, we have the horse on the wall, which now brings in that you can overcome your obstacles because the horse is on the wall. And if you look at the posture, everything's very straight in that card. For me, it indicates logic and linear, and the fact that as the sun and coming out as who you are, you overcome the limits that other people put on you, right? And as you see in that card, also we have hay that's in the wagon and it's been dispersed where it needed to be. So it's more of a completion and a time of rest. So we've done what we needed to. Now it's time to enjoy this moment. So even though there's nobody in the picture, they've been outside, they've done the things that they needed to, and now they just get to enjoy the moment. So the sun card, enjoy the moment, welcome you in your authentic self with your new integrations and enjoy every moment. Thank you so much for joining me. Our next tarot tidbits will be the final two cards, which is Judgment and the World. And then we'll start to look at suits. Until the next time, we'll see you then.